Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is the Work with What You Got podcast. My name is Devin, aka Dina Chaitanya. This is episode number 17, if I'm not mistaken, of this podcast. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for the support. I was out for a month because I needed to step back and get some clarity in my own life, but I'm back. I found the clarity that I needed. And in the meantime, I was actually working on getting some potential people to interview. And with me today is Kamita. So Kamita Kamau, if I'm not mistaken. Is that how I pronounce your surname? Kamau.
Kamau is, yeah.
Okay, great. So Kamita Kamau, who is a 26-year-old musician and content creator. He has graduated from music school and he joined the Hare Krishna monastery. He has traveled to many countries in just over 4 years, and he's been learning and sharing principles of bhakti, in other words, you could say he's been sharing spiritual principles. He is currently located in Nairobi, and he has recently just got married, so can send him a congratulations and a good luck. And yeah, he finds joy in sharing practical steps in experiencing blissful spiritual life. So thank you very much for joining me. I'm very honored to have you here. And yeah, welcome. If you want to say a little bit about yourself, you're welcome to do that as well.
I am very grateful also for having this opportunity. There's so many social media, there's so many people on social media, so many personalities. But somehow you got inspired from within to reach out to me. So I not only give thanks to you, but to the whole sort of divine existence for giving me an opportunity just to speak and also hear from you. And hopefully, whatever we discuss here, whatever we share, can be of help to someone somehow, even with the smallest of impacts. That will be very fulfilling. So yeah, thank you so much, Dina Chaitanya or Devon.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, I'm looking forward to having a blissful time.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so that's really nice to have you here again. And I really like what you were doing or what you are doing on social media. I've only seen your Instagram. I'm not sure if you're on any other platforms. You have YouTube, Facebook, TikTok,
Yeah, yeah. So no, I'm just on Instagram for a
just on
start.
Instagram.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we are
Okay. And
looking
I,
into. So yeah, we actually, well, I worked. We just recently released perhaps like a debut music project, although it
yeah.
wasn't exact. It's not exactly under my Instagram, but it's under ISKCON Nairobi. Maybe after this we can share, or however we can share the link to the. It's
Yes.
something sort of contemporary using ancient wisdom kind of music. I will work with a few devotees, but yeah, we're looking to, and we're also on Spotify with some of our music and
Okay.
projects. And we're looking to do much more of that in a way that the world is impacted in a way that is familiar to them.
Yeah, so that's great. So you're gonna send me all of those links, and then I'll post it in under the caption or in the caption of this YouTube because this whole episode is gonna go up on YouTube. And so
Yeah.
people, if you're watching this right now and you want to check out all of what Kamita has just said, then it will be in the caption. So you can just click the link and go straight over there and give it a check. I myself am going to go check it out as well. I actually just saw that it's also a link in your Instagram bio, your
Yes,
latest
it is.
debut
Yeah.
album.
So actually,
Okay.
yes.
And I've seen
So
some
my
short
Instagram has everything.
clips.
Yeah.
I've seen some short clips of what you've shared, and it looks really cool. I like what you're doing. And that's what drew me in because I saw that and I was like, wow, okay, I'll send you a message because this looks like it's going to be, or has the potential to reach a lot of people. So, yeah. And I liked what you were
Thank you.
doing. It looked like it's coming from a good space. So, yeah.
Appreciate. Thank you.
Yeah, so we were just talking before we started this live, and we were talking about how you were a monk and now you're married, right?
Sorry, just lost you a bit there.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so just before we started this episode and we went live and we recorded this, we were talking about how you were previously a monk and you just recently got married. So can you talk a bit about, because this whole episode is revolving around the idea of going from temple to TikTok. So temple to social media, basically. And yeah, so tell us a little bit about why you became a monk. Just in short, we don't have to go into too many details. And then
Yeah.
yeah, let's move from there. Yeah.
Yeah, so how I've experienced in my very few small experience in life. I mean, I'm only 26 and perhaps in my quarter life crisis, so I don't have so much experience. But the little experience that I have is that there are always, phases in life, just like the moon has phases and the day has different times of it, and they are all different and they are all meant to sort of impact us in different ways. I went through a phase where, okay, when I first got into spirituality when I was just about the end of my college studies, my university studies. And then when I graduated, I was like, okay, what do I do with my life? And just around that time, I just got the opportunity to travel to the UK, and
Yeah.
there for about 6 months, and there I met group of monks who were so fired up and sort of very inspired and convinced and very enthusiastic in their spiritual life. So I sort of, it was quite contagious, picked that up, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do. At least for now, I won't really go to the career space and try and and do that. Let me just sort of take a step back and reflect, and in that way, maybe one person says like an arrow, for you to shoot forward with the highest speed, then you have to pull back. So I
Pull
sort of
back a little,
pulled back,
yeah.
yeah, pulled back with my life, and yeah, it was very, very inspiring. Did some service in the temple, and now when that sort of phase or that sort of spark sort of started to diminish, well, there's always an option of maybe relocating to a monastery or something like this. But I thought, what is practical and sort of something that can give more life to what I was doing was, yeah, joining marriage. Yeah, so getting someone to do it together with. And yes, it has been quite fulfilling. My wife is very supportive, and it's like building a smaller temple within, where you can access spiritual life and practice all the principles that are recommended by the teachers, yeah, by the spiritual teachers. Yes.
I like what you said because I was just thinking, you said, I just finished university, I graduated, and usually what the normal average person will do is like, okay, now I got to get a job. But you went the other way. You're like, no, I'm not gonna get a job. I'm gonna renounce all of that for a little bit, and I'm gonna, even though I put so much hard work into getting a degree and graduating to get a job, I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna give that up and join the temple. So that must have been quite a shift. And I can imagine that's what lit a spark within you, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that must have been where the spark came from for you to use your music and mix it with spirituality. Am I
Actually,
on something there?
yeah, definitely. It completely changed my life. I picked up some principles in my life. I mean, campus life for most people, there's a lot of partying and engaging in "you only live once" philosophy. But yeah, it gave me a more depth to life and a more reflective, approach to life, and some more peace, because I mean, when the reality of life is the more joy or the more pleasure you try to get off the bodily existence, the more suffering that you experience. So reducing that bodily pleasure that I was sort of hankering for, and sort of getting disciplined and principled in sort of just being more self-satisfied with more spiritual or more activities that are more mindful and aware, then it gave some better life, and it gave it a more meaning to what I had done for the last perhaps 20 years, something, and especially with the music, which I have loved for the longest time, and which has been an inclination for me. So it gave a much deeper purpose to everything that I was doing, including my relationships. That's a very important part. So nowadays, when my relationship became even much better, my parents, my friends, and I got even new relationships. Like I'm here with Devon. I could never have imagined. We've met online. We've never met, in real life. But it feels like it's a friend that I'm meeting after not talking in a very long time. So yeah, I really appreciate some of these things that joining the monastery helped with, and I hope somehow I can go on and just tighten them up and experience an even much fulfilling life.
Yeah, I mean, just going off what you said, is that's also something that I really gained from, because I was also living in a temple for some time. And something that I gained through that experience is learning about who I really am. And it sort of brought out the more authentic side of myself. Because before I went into the temple, I was also confused. I was confused about who I am, what I'm doing here, what is life really about. But when I went in, I can't say that the confusion went away immediately, because it definitely didn't. I could say that I probably got a bit more confused because I was learning all these new terms and all this philosophy. And I was like, wow, this is crazy and it's a lot to take on. But through the process of sticking it out, I I grounded myself into who I am and what I'm doing. And as you said, it's also given me it's given me more clarity, and it's given me more focus, and it's also given me more energy to work with, especially because the principles that you and I practice, or in spirituality, specifically in bhakti yoga, the principles help us to maintain our energy within, rather than giving it away all the time outside in unnecessary ways, which is what the average person, like in university, everybody's like party, 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 but not in a not in a beneficial way. Party, party, party to forget and to lose yourself, rather than to remember who you are. Because as monks, you said you met monks in the UK and they were fired up and they inspired you. And what I was picturing as they're jumping around and dancing, and that's also like a party, but the party is to inspire people to become more spiritual.
Yeah.
Whereas the parties within university are not to inspire people to become, not generally,
Yeah.
they're not really geared towards inspiring people to become more spiritual. Um, so yeah, and I think that's also like a little bit of a dilemma that we find on social media nowadays, is that there's a lot of nonsense on social media. I mean, I know myself, sometimes I get into doom scrolling mode and I scroll,
Yeah.
and then
Brain
I
rot.
had a moment last night and I was just like, why did I watch like a whole hour of this type of content? It just pops up on my feed and I get drawn in for some reason, and I watch episode on episode on episode of similar types of content. And then I think to myself after, but why did I do that? Because it just made me feel really sad and it like pulled me down, you know?
Mm.
And yeah, so that's why I'm on social media. I can imagine that's also potentially why you're on social media, is to add something that's uplifting,
Yeah.
because the world is a crazy place in today's day and age, and bad news spreads really, really quickly.
We quicker.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that have recently been happening in the world, and the amount of the time span with which it spread was like within seconds of it happening. A few stories that I've just been aware of, and I had to actually like Google some beneficial things that have happened in September just to bring my mind back to the world. Is like it's not a bad place, you know. because I
Yeah.
got absorbed in this certain type of event or events that have been happening. And yeah, anyway, so coming back to the point is that yeah, social media can feel both inspiring and overwhelming. And I want to know from your perspective, how do you use it in a way that feeds your soul instead of draining it? So we know for one that we try to share positive content, but what's another way, or what are some things that you do that yeah, that makes social media a bit more beneficial?
Okay, just before I answer that, I'd just like to, in literally 10 seconds, just grab my water. I forgot it in the next room, and
Yes,
then
go
I'll
for
just.
it. Go for it. Okay,
Okay,
let's
yeah.
go.
So yeah, that's a very important practical question you asked. What I can get, what when I go on social media, what I'm looking for um, to sort of get benefit from when I go to social media. So um, practicing spiritual life, all the practices that I learned when I was when I was a monk, that I am applying in my practical life. The meditation, the absorption in reading scripture, and engaging in temple services and everything, things that are directly spiritual in nature, leaves you very inspired to go and change the world somehow. And yes, okay, I have to know, for me to do that, I have to know I have to know the tools that are currently working in the social, in the practical media space. So yeah, that's what I do. I just go there to see what are the tools that are there to learn from the world, so that I can give back to it, to take from it so that I can give back to it, having transformed it into a better, put in a better frequency, or some better conscious into it, the one which I'm getting from spiritual life. So yeah, so that's
Mm.
one of the things. It's to learn from it, to get some more practical tools in my music, in my content creation. How can I feel my videos better? How can I phrase my words in a way they can be taken much more easily, and resonate with people. Another thing that I can say is that, well, our understanding of spirituality is that God, divinity, is spread everywhere. I don't have to just seek Him in the temple. So just also going to experience God just in another way, and and see how God is empowering other people, all these people, even though they may not be practicing what I'm practicing. I would be going against the principles of my religion, or my form of spirituality, if I sort of boxed myself to say that these are the people that I associate with. I mean, I wouldn't even have met this podcast if I wasn't out there. So even not only linking me to the people, to people who are like-minded and are sort of in the same line, also linking me to people who we can share ideas in a much deeper way, and seeing them as agents of divinity in helping all of us as a society, as a sort of as humanity, to elevate our consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Something my mom said is that God can use whoever he wants to fulfill his mission. So it's not that it's specific to one religion or this or that, but God can use whoever he wants. Whoever he wants, he can inspire to do something great for everyone else. And so, yeah, it's really amazing to connect with people and to, as you said, see the divinity within the person and see the goodness that that person or people are trying to bring forth into the world, and to learn from it, and to help it to inspire us to keep doing what we're doing and keep reaching out there and keep sharing, because it's not about what we know at the end of the day, it's more about who you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, the message is within each and every one of us. You have your message, I have my message. It may be similar, but in some ways it's also unique to you and to me. So my message is unique to me and your message is unique to you, even though you and I, we're along a very similar path, if not almost identical path, because we're both in the same spiritual path. But the way we express that and the way we share that is unique to you and I. So you have your expression and I have my expression. And everyone else has their expression as well. And that's what's amazing about it, is because I can see something and I don't have to do what that person's doing, but I can get inspired by it. And I can see, look at that person and what they're doing, and it can help me to feel more motivated to keep doing what I'm doing. And so I
Yeah,
like what you said about not boxing ourselves in, because I find that when you box yourself in, you cut off a lot of the divine aspects in the world around you. And you stop yourself from seeing that, and you stop yourself from connecting with that. Obviously, within reason, we don't want to get drawn off what we're doing into something else, because that's not beneficial for you and I, for being on a spiritual path. You don't want to get drawn off your spiritual path into something else. But we want to just acknowledge that there is good, and then be like, cool, what can I learn from that? Or how can I support that and help that to grow? And, in that sense, it also comes back, because what you put out there comes back to us.
yeah,
And that's the point that I wanted to say. The next point is like staying real in this space, and not getting drawn into like trends and drawn into what the world is doing, but at the same time seeing, well, using our intelligence to see the good in the things that are good, and using that to inspire us to still reach people. Yeah. And so do you
yeah,
want to say anything on that? Or am I, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, seeing how to reach people. A practical thing that I have really experienced is sort of taking the formats that are being used directly by other people. Sort of, for instance, right? Technology things are changing every other time. Okay, different forms of technology, including artistic technologies, are sort of evolving day by day. So taking these technologies and literally just pasting ourselves, even before I identify as a spiritualist, or anyone can do this, sort of take that technology, they say still like an artist. You take all these technologies and all these aspects that are there, and we sort of paste ourselves, our authentic selves, having, of course, personally worked on ourselves to know how we are inspired from within to express ourselves to the world, sort of pasting that on everyone, like putting our fingerprints on that. And in that way, I believe that if everyone did that, whether they are a doctor or a teacher or a musician or whatever they are, then that will elevate, consciousness. Of course, by being conscious, not to be too greedy, or reducing some of these negative qualities, or these negative things that rather having a purer consciousness. If we try and purify our
Yeah.
consciousness and then apply ourselves, our authentic selves, how we are feeling inspired from within, and from what we feel that we are actually good at, then in that way, like, the world can progress in a much more positive way, and it's not dependent on you being part of a certain movement or a certain group, and some things like this. And in that way, I think, yeah, it will make things quite progressive. Yeah,
Yeah, because it's easy to get caught up in social media. You can get fame very quickly on social media for doing random things. I've seen some really random famous people, social media famous people. And yeah, it can get to one's head, you know? We think, oh my God, I'm so famous now because I've done X, Y, Z. And it's not about that. I think that's the difference between um, just your average social media content creator and someone who's coming in with um, a spiritual side to it. I mean, it may happen. The fame may come because the world needs spirituality, you know? And especially if you do something like music in your content, it's very catchy. People love music. It's you don't need words. You don't need to understand the language. It's just something that your soul can resonate with, especially if the music is coming from one's soul. You know, I recently went to a concert and I saw this guy performing, and the way he did it was just when we left, I felt so full, you know, I felt so like content. And he
Mm.
didn't need to say much. He just was performing and doing his thing. And it was amazing, you know? And so, like, yeah, as I was saying, is that even like specifically with music, is that fame and all of these types of things are going to come, but staying real in that and realizing that it's not about me,
Yeah.
it's about the message. And I mean, has this been something that you've thought about? Has this been something that's crossed your mind, or is it something that's popped up for you in your journey so far?
Yeah, certainly. Removing actually, it's one of the best realizations I've had, but one of the hardest to actually apply in creating art, in doing my my duties and my my activities as a content creator and musician. So
Yeah.
uh, let me see where I can pick it up from. So the mess, yeah, basically it has been all about us, or generally being in material life or being in this world. We always think of that which is mine, me and mine, me, my family, my country, my race, my me and my I. And I guess that's why they called this phone iPhone because many people will relate to it. Anyway,
Because it's
just a
my,
side joke.
it should have been called my phone.
Yeah, my phone. Yeah, yeah, because people relate to I much more
Yeah,
than they
yeah.
relate to us or we.
Us,
Yeah,
yes, sure.
yeah. So and it starts from when we are a kid, or it's even in other animals. We always see that we are always trying to protect that which belongs to us, that which is very individual, or it's centric towards ourselves, the ego. So automatically that comes when we are trying to give, when we are trying to interact with the world. We always sort of in a safe space trying to protect ourselves, or get more that will come, receive than share.
Mhm.
And a way I've tried to sort of negate that is to try and think of the ultimate effect of what I am doing. Because, they say the butterfly effect, whatever small action that one has a huge ripple effect. And the purer it is, the better it is for the world. So when I do an activity, okay, knowing the science that one small action that I make will have such a huge impact, then that if I do it being self-centered, that is to mean the effect that it will have will not find its highest purity. But if I do it for the better, for the sake of, like, in the sense that anyone who experiences this, it will definitely elevate their life. So in that way, in that consciousness, I start to write my music, or I start to write the scripts for content creation. And one way that I'm able to sort of keep this very very intact is definitely every morning I have to practice my mantra meditation, do my what we call sadhana, or my spiritual practice, and try and be very intense and try and link to that divine aspect, because the divine aspect is all giving. It is all merciful. It is very infinite and eternal, and full of bliss. So I'm trying to associate with that energy as deeply as I can, to be as connected as I can, in a way that when I come out, to share it with the world, then it is definitely just going to give good results, and no limitations of my selfish desires of fame or name or money and these things. If they're gonna come, they should come organically, and I shouldn't be attached to it. So this is the consciousness that that I've tried to approach what I do with. But of course, because it is, I've been conditioned for the longest time, it is one of the hardest things to do. But
Yeah.
I appreciate that, yeah, progressively it's getting easier and easier.
I think just what you just said is that I think that's what the beauty of being connected to something bigger than oneself, like for instance, being on a spiritual path and doing something like this, is that the message means more than the fruit that we get from what we do. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect and that I'm detached from the fact that, if one day thousands of followers follow me and so on and so forth, that it won't change who I am in some way, because it probably will. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It probably will, because that's just the nature of what's gonna happen, you know? But the point is that the spiritual path that we are on, that I'm on, it helps me to stay grounded in the fact that, again, it's not about me, it's about the message, you know? And it's also the sincerity of the person doing it, I guess, because it's easy to get pulled in different directions. If there's no sincerity, then I've seen myself get pulled in directions and I'm like, wow, what is going on? Why did I do that? And then I realized that I need to stay humble and I need to stay sincere in what I'm doing, because otherwise I will get pulled in different directions. Because it's the one of the main aspects of spiritual life is having sincerity, because when there's sincerity, there's honesty, and when then there's honesty, then there's humility. And when there's humility, then you stay close to what's important in one's life.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's a big thing for me with doing social media, is just remembering that, you know, and trying to just be authentic as I can in what I do, because that's what's going to reach people, you know. I read a nice someone's they shared 10 things that they wish that they knew when they started their monk life. And the one thing that they said was that is to not give up their talents and the things that they're good at, because those are the things that are like gifts from God. Well, we say Krishna in Alpha, but yeah, those things are gifts. Just like your music is a gift from Krishna, it's a gift from God. And not to throw these types of things away just because we feel like it's material or it doesn't fit into spiritual life in some way or another. Because it all does, and you can do it. That's the beauty about the Bhakti Yoga path, is something called Yukta Vairagya, which is, in simple terms, it just means to engage the world around you in the service of God. That's the whole premise of Bhakti Yoga, is to use what you can, what's beneficial for spiritual life, and use it in your service. So for instance, like social media, it's a crazy space. There's everybody and anybody can be a content creator. As I said, I've seen some crazy people out there. Well, what I would consider crazy, maybe to some people it's normal, but
yeah, we love that.
because everybody's different. But for me, I've seen some crazy content creators, and I'm just like, wow, how is this person famous? Their content is really
Yeah,
interesting, to say the least. And yeah, yeah, coming back to what I was saying, is that is to keep that authenticity and to keep that realness, which
Yeah.
comes from our spiritual path itself, or practicing a spiritual path. Because yeah, that's again what's gonna connect to people is keeping the realness within us. So I can imagine that's something that music helps you to connect to often, is because I mean, you can explain to me a little bit about how you feel when you're creating your content, or how you feel when you're playing the instruments you play. Like, what type of instruments do you like? You're good at guitar, or
Yeah. So somehow, well, in campus, I majored in piano. Just picked up some few guitar skills.
okay, you
And I
majored in
played,
piano. Oh, that's cool.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's nice.
and keyboards, piano and keyboards, electric keyboards, and I was also playing in a band, so I was able to pick up how, all the music, basically music direction and arrangement. So these are some of the fortes that I got out with. And joining the Hare Krishna movement, beginning this spiritual path, I met other, a completely different type of approach to music. There are ancient instruments, the mridanga, this drum, kartals, and the harmonium. So yeah, I also picked up these. I was playing the African flute before, but now which is quite similar. It's made of bamboo, just like the
That's
bansuri,
cool.
the Indian
Yeah.
flute. So that was easy to transition to. And I also found the accordion, which is very nice and very sort of crucial in our spiritual movement, because music is like at the head of
Number one.
our
Yeah.
spirituality. It's so easy for me to integrate into this form of spirituality, into bhakti yoga, because I already have things that are very, very useful. And
Yeah.
my friends and my mentors encouraged me so much to pick this up. And so, what I really love about this form, being a musician, or something that inspires me so much being a musician, is the fact that, first, of course, I am able to do it easily. I didn't choose to be able to do it easily. It's something sort of, it's a talent or something.
Mm,
Everyone has that thing that they are born with, or they have been raised
mm,
up with, that sort of naturally comes to them. So I find, and somehow we find joy in it. Maybe because of the feedback that we get, they tell us, okay, this is good, and it sort of massages our ego. Well, unfortunately, that's how it is because of our conditioning. But it is also something good, because if we don't get that positive feedback, then we
you'll feel
will
like,
try
what am
and
I
do
doing?
something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it
So
working?
better
Oh,
just,
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate how yeah, music is that thing where, when I connect with, and it's easy, it's very easy to pick up, and then I can use that as a stepping stone to sort of lift me up, and the people around me, or those who are listening to it, to be able to tap into it. And especially when I do something musical, that someone feels, oh yes, I was really touched by that it gives some feedback. It shows that yeah, whatever you did with the musical, element, or the tool, or that bit, that thing that you did on your from your artistic sort of knowledge, or prowess, it sort of it uplifted me, or it made someone dance, or it sort of, you
Mm,
know uplifted someone in some way, then that really gives a lot of joy. And another thing is, yeah, the music that we do here in the Krishna conscious, society, is purely based on spiritual matters. And the science is that if you connect, or if you are in connection with the spiritual realm, the divine realm, then the automatic effect will be blissful. That's just it. So, we use music for mantra meditation, we use music to tell stories, we use music to express ourselves deeply towards the divine,
mm,
deeply, saying it raw, very raw, our limitations, expressing our gratitude to those who are important in our spiritual lives. And this gives such an intense satisfaction. So this is part of yeah, these are some of the things that I really relish using music. On the content creation part, although it's not something that I have been I've associated for a long time with as I have with music, but it has pretty much the same effect. When I do some edits and create content, write a script first. Actually, for content creation, it's such an interesting thing because all the way from the scripting itself, from getting the idea and thinking, okay, if I say this is something that really relates with people, and I'm gonna sort of use these words, I'm gonna cut out this part, and organize the script in a way that it is understandable to people, and the whole process generally, to the shooting and the planning, so much goes in the background, but experiencing the result of people sort of even that one, like when you go on your Instagram and someone has commented on the post, and
Yeah.
your video has gotten to several thousands or hundreds, even tens of people. They have been influenced, and especially when someone comments with something that your content is really inspiring, even though it's just two people or just a small group of people who has watched who has watched the content, that really goes a very deep way. It's in the mentality of one of our teachers, that if whatever he said, that if this spirituality that I am giving affects even just one person, I will consider it a success. So I also try to be in the same mood, and not even just trying, it's automatic, it's an absolute truth that if you sort of influence someone positively, even if it's just one person, it gives such an enlivening, experience, or some enlivening, feedback, enlivening feedback. So yeah, this is what I would say.
Gives you inspiration to keep doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
And what's your approach to making spiritual ideas connect, or what's your idea with connecting people to spiritual ideas through your music? So, like, how would you do that?
So fast, maybe we can say it's just several layers of elements that you're putting, that you're using in it. And the very most basic element is the science of the music itself. And going through music school, I graduated from music school, and in music school, what you do, just like with any other forms of education, you basically break down the science of what you're talking about. So in music, we generally know about
Isn't
the
music
melody.
also something like in Nairobi, do people still come from tribes? Is that still a
Yeah,
big thing? And is music a
yes.
big thing in the tribes in Nairobi?
Actually, one thing that has really inspired me in my spiritual life, and linking that to music, is that in one of the famous philosophers, they call them ethnomusicologists, who made their studies in African music. They said that in Africa, music and dance are inseparable.
Mm.
And actually, it goes to the extent that music, the word that is used for music and the word that is used for dance is the same. This is one same word in our community. We call it ruebo. That is to mean, if you tell someone I'm going to ruebo, they might want to specify, okay, are you going for a dance or are you going
This
for a
one
music
or
concert?
this one?
Yeah, which one is it? Yeah,
Okay,
but so
sure.
the Western aspect sort of differentiates that, but in depth, the African people are both musicians and dancers, and that's why when we get a kirtan roll, or some music rolling here in Africa, everyone just stands and dances and
To
everything.
dance.
So
Because
that
it's
has been
natural.
something.
Yeah,
It's very, very natural. We've been
yeah.
dancing since we were kids, and that's the same thing with many people. And we can see even with the big musicians in the other side of the philosophy, those who are singing about other topics, they are also pretty much so dancers in a huge way. So yeah, so beginning with the elements of music, of musicality, which beat to use, where to emphasize, the accents, or which melodic structure to use, which rhythmic structure to use, which chord structures to use, and all these things. So already you capture them in a very subconscious way. They say sound is a very, very powerful, it's the most powerful element, because it is the most subtle. And from that, then I try to build up that with a message. Yeah. So on top of that, because everyone can make very good music and it can be attractive. But what now will sort of narrow it down to the actual more influential effect it will give is the message. So what I do is that I try to directly give the message that I have gotten from our spiritual teachers out to the world as it is, not with it doesn't have to be with the same words. Sometimes it may be exactly the same words, but they say that one who's intelligent is the intelligent person is one who may take something that is already existing traditionally in an ancient way, but transform it in a way that is very receivable at this time. We are doing that with all other things. So in the same way, philosophy, or this message, and now in music can be still do the same. Write lines that are relatable to everyone. Is looking for love, everyone is looking for peace, and things like this. And then on top of that, then sort of do it as an offering. I think that's the last thing. Okay, after curating everything, I've collected all the musical aspects. I've tried to go deep with the message. I've written everything the way it's supposed to be. Then the rest, I try to do it as an offering to divinity, as an offering to all the predecessors, and as an offering to humanity. In the sense, with a very, as you say, the sincerity, the honesty, and the humility, to make an impact that will make people become uplifted. So in this way, and after that bit, then whatever results will come back. If it gets to only 20 people or 20 million people, then it will give a blissful, effect either way.
So where do you find yourself in all of that? So how do you balance trying to share something spiritual and creating content, and then in the middle of it all, just being you, just being a human? Like where do you fit in? Where does because ultimately that's what people are also looking for, I find. I mean, it's not so much about what we do, it's more about how we do it. And I found that the most relatable people, even in spirituality, are the people that are just very themselves, They're not trying to be this or trying to be that, because you can sort of sense it, right? You could have sort of sense this person is trying too hard, or this person maybe they're trying to be someone that they're not. And so yeah, where do you fit into all of that is my question right now.
Yeah, so there is this science of yoga, which, well, I didn't exactly learn it from this specific line, Bhakti Yoga, but I've heard it from the Zen, I think Tao, his name is Tao, Tao, I don't know how to say that. And I heard it quoted by Bruce Lee, and I've also heard it quoted by, I think, Sadhguru. The sense of being present. Being present enough to know exactly what existence, what the universe, what divinity is inspiring to do at that very moment. Bruce Lee said, "Be water." Water is very flexible. Sort of, when it finds a cliff, it makes a waterfall. When it finds a rock, it either goes above it or sort of pushes through the rock until it breaks it, or goes around it. Or when it gets into a cup, it becomes the shape of the cup. When it gets into a bottle, it gets the shape of the bottle. So this is a very powerful tool that I have seen. It's very, very practical. And every time you do that, the person that you relate with, or the recipient of your activity, when you're in that consciousness, definitely becomes uplifted. No matter the consciousness that they were in, they're definitely going to be uplifted. And the more I try to practice this, it's definitely the hardest science to do. It's harder to be a doctor. It's harder to do some surgery, because even doing surgery, that's the essence of it. You have to be very present and focused and attentive to anything,
In
actually.
other words, you have to be like connected to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be very deeply connected. In that, you've lost all sense of time and space. You're
There's
just
no
in
thought
this,
of the future, no thought of the
or the
past, no
past.
anxiety.
Yeah,
Like,
not here, not there. You're just in this, you're just doing it, giving yourself to it fully. You don't even exist. You don't know yourself as a person. You don't know whether you're male or female or anything. You're just in that very present moment. And experiencing that to the highest self. So when I do that, it sometimes it just sparks, sometimes it's seasons, we're in a good state or we are not. So definitely my spiritual practices help me with that, being there and being controlled by the existence, by divinity. Yeah, but every time I do that, the times that I do that, I find full experience, and in that way, and that's the best way actually to live. And in that way, every action that I render, the results don't really matter, because the goal is to actually experience life in the moment, and be happy in the moment, not judging, okay, I'm gonna accumulate this number of followers or money, or any sort of quantitative elements. Yeah, I think, yeah.
it's like there's a artist called J. Cole. I don't know if you know J. Cole, who's a
Yeah, I
rapper.
know J. Cole. Yeah, very.
Okay, I
Yeah,
was
he
listening to one
seems
of
very
his
conscious.
songs. Yeah, he's got some good stuff. He has some interesting topics sometimes, but there's a few of his latest tracks that came out that I was listening to, and the one starts with the question is, what are you doing this for? Are you doing this to gain fame, or are you doing this to spread a message to the world? And then he starts rapping. So it starts with that quote, and I was just like, damn, that's
Wow.
cool, because the intention matters, right? So if you the frequency we're going to create is going to come from what's really the intention that we're holding within us. So if you're truly giving from a space of just openness, and you're truly giving from a space of just, I just want to give, the impact is going to be so much more heart centered than someone who's giving, but with the expectation that there's going to be something back,
Yeah.
because the energy is just different, right? There's no denying it. Energy is energy. Energy is not going to lie, you know? So someone who is truly giving, it may not, again, it may not reach 20 million people, but the people that it does reach are definitely going to feel it. And so that's the difference. And yeah, yeah, I was listening to J. Cole, and I've listened to that track a few times, and just always in the beginning,
Yeah, amazing.
it's interesting. It's good to remember.
Yeah,
You
please
know,
send
what
me
am I
that
doing
track
this for? I will.
when you're done with this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because something happened. I was not too like big on like the hip hop scene, but I just like hip hop artists. There's a few hip hop artists I like because just this the sort of mood that some of them have is very like confident, and the way that they mix their words and the way that they rhyme, it's very cool. I love that type of stuff. I love hearing how they play with their words and how they mix it all in. And J. Cole's very good at what he does in that sense. I mean, among others. And then yeah, so just that track, and he made a comeback of something. There was something that happened, and it caused some sort of commotion in the hip hop world. He was a part of it, and then he took a step back for a bit, and then I think in that same track he says he reminds himself and other rappers why they started doing what they're doing. They didn't
Mm.
start doing it they didn't start rapping. Or I mean, maybe not. Maybe some of them did, but I think him along with other rappers, there's a deeper reason why they started rapping. You know, a lot of them
Yeah,
started rapping because it was an outlet. It was a way to write down the experiences that they've had and the that just inner stuff. You know, all that confusion, all that anger, all that emotion, all that stuff that's been going on inside of them. And it was a way to write that down, but also not just to write down how they're feeling, but also to share with other people. And so in his rap, in his song, he was saying that that's what he was reminded of when he took a step back. That he's not doing this to diss other rappers. He's not doing this to beat this guy and be better than that
yeah,
guy. He's not doing this to compete and to do all of this and get caught up in the game. The reason why he started was to have it to make an impact, to
yeah,
uplift others, to get others to
yeah,
see something from a different angle, to share a message. And it was just beautiful. When I heard that, I was like, boom. And just what we were saying in the beginning is like seeing those aspects in other people who are not necessarily on the same path as us, but still seeing that and taking from that and being filled by that, because it definitely filled me. When I heard that for the first time, I was like, this is such a good song. I really
yeah,
felt
man.
so happy, you know? And I was
Yeah,
like,
I also,
this is cool.
sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, yes.
I find so much inspiration when I see people out there sort of digging deeper into existence, into the
Mm,
more eternal, the more sustainable, the more absolute uh, aspects of life, through such messages. When I find musicians talking about this, I'm going, yes, we need more people like you, you know. Yeah, so yeah, that's something. It actually it uplifts it in a very good way, because sometimes if we, because of course our spiritual circle is nothing in ratio to the, other people and everything that they are doing.
mm,
So we might have that sense of inferiority comes to us, and we feel like, okay, how will I be able to change the world? I mean, my message, even though it's the best message, is a message of love and hope and peace. And what is it gonna do to a world that is full of greed and and all these negative things? But when we see people like this, and especially when they have a very prominent spot, we were like, yes, this is what we want. And in that way, then yeah, they uplift us. They uplift me, actually. I feel so enthusiastic to sort of join in that
mm.
movement of making a positive change.
And it's amazing that I said in the beginning that I was getting caught up in all of like, I get caught up in negative feed sometimes. And there were certain events that recently happened. I'm not going to get into the details, but I just got caught up in watching all of this. And I was like trying to figure out, is this, are these people good guys? Are they bad guys? You know, blah, blah, blah. I was researching. And then I realized like, I don't need to get caught up in it. And number two, it inspired me to stay focused on more positive things that are happening in the world. You know, because there are positive things happening. And the thing with the positive things, as I said, bad news spreads quick. It's like wildfire. You throw a little spark into a dry field and boom, the whole field's alight. That's like bad news. But good news
Yeah.
is the stuff that creeps slowly. There was a guy, um, I won't go too off topic with this, but there was a guy who planted an entire forest. He bought a big piece of land. I think it was, I forget where it was, somewhere in the east somewhere. And he planted an entire forest over his lifetime, and no one knew about it. No one knew
Wow.
about it until he passed away. And then people came to bury him and stuff, and they realized around his house was every single tree he had planted with over like 10,000 trees. He did it all by himself and he just kept doing
Wow.
it. And nobody saw that he did it
Oh
until the day
my.
that he died. And I was like, damn, that's what good news is, really. You know, that's what
Yeah.
positivity really is that it doesn't matter whether people see this or not. It's the fact that it is something positive and it is something that's helping to raise the vibration in whatever way. And yeah, whether it gets recognized, whether it doesn't get recognized, it doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
yeah, so some I wanted to ask the question that I have written down is practical inspiration for someone who feels stuck. What's one thing that they can do daily to feel grounded and connected? But I want to change the question and I want to say, what's something that you've done when you felt stuck? What's something that's helped you to shift, given your experience of music, given your experience of doing some content creation and something like that? What is one thing, if you can remember a time when you felt like, I don't know what's going on. I'm confused about what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah.
confused about who I
Yeah. Yeah.
am. I'm confused about
Yeah.
where I'm going. Yeah. So what's
Yeah.
something that you've really done
I
that's helped
I
you?
totally relate to this question because I don't even have to go so far. Before we had this call, maybe just 2 hours before, I was feeling sort of not so enthusiastic. I know I have so many duties to do to
Mm,
perform, but I'm not. I literally don't have a taste for them, and I'm not feeling so inspired to go for them. And what I did, at least what I felt, I examined myself. So that's maybe one of the first point is to reflect and be sort of uh, self-examine yourself. Be present to notice what is the state of your mind, what is the state of your heart, what is the state of your emotions, what is the state of your physical being. Are you sick? Oh my God, we forget so much to actually acknowledge some of these things, even just sickness
mm,
itself, because sickness is just a manifestation of our internal self.
yeah.
So, examining ourselves to know, okay, what is happening, just pulling back for some time and then addressing that in the best way that you can with the best tools that you can use. Yeah, that definitely has uplifted me so many times. So, for instance, when I was feeling like that, I just rested. I just took a nap and it was a 10 minutes alarm, and then but before by the 10 minutes went off, someone called me, so I got out of it. So I had to set another 10 minutes because I didn't feel that I had sort of come back to myself. But then, yeah, when the 10 minutes were over, I woke up feeling much more refreshed and was like, okay, yeah, amazing. I have this to do. I have a podcast to do. We have this,
Mm.
an email to write and all these things. And yeah, now I'm feeling very enthusiastic. So that sense of self-examination on all levels, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual level are very, very
And then
important.
just take a nap.
Yeah, just take a nap, actually.
Just take
Take
a
a nap.
nap.
Yeah, yeah. It's because they say the mind is like a kid. The kid is crying for something, and if you tell the kid, "Okay, I'm not gonna give you this," sometimes they're just gonna cry louder. But if you
Just
just
take a nap.
yeah, just take a nap. Another thing is maybe so what that the aspect that we've analyzed right now is one. It's more sort of self healing, or it's self care. But there's also the more austere one. Maybe sort of do some press ups or get into
Yeah,
a cold
sure.
shower.
Sure.
It's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that's hard to do,
Yeah, yeah.
but definitely, yeah. There's also that aspect. Go for a run, or not something else. Read a book or meditate.
Mm.
Take some 10 minutes. Get into meditation. It will need a lot of sort of focus and mental work and everything. But yeah, maybe that approach maybe is there when we are feeling so active. We want to do so many things, but we're not sure which one to do exactly. So I
Mm.
think that has helped me in so many ways to sort of recollect and bring my mind to that one pointed aspect of life. So yeah, so that's another aspect. Sort of do something that is sort of a little that uses a bit more effort to access, But definitely, the effect is usually much more empowering. So, but of course, now I've talked about short-term things, but in a long-term sense, if you're in a period in our lives, I've talked about a period in our day or a period, during the day that we're feeling a certain way. But we're in a period in our lives that we are going through some things. The approach is still the same. Take some time every day for certain number of days. There are all these challenges actually. Yeah, we're sort of in a series. There was this one Swami. He says that every day every day you have to have at least 1 hour of reflection or of being connected to ourselves. Every week we have to have one day where we pull back and connect deeper. Every month we have to have 1 week where we pull back and connect deeper. Every year we have to have 1 month when we pull back and connect deeper. Every decade we have to have 1 year that we pull back, and like this. In that sense, then progressively we see it's a science. Even whether you're doing this spiritually or materially, we have to have that time where we sort of pull back and write. Journaling is a very powerful tool of self-reflection that I have found. There are different styles of journaling, but yeah, it's something that you can write to yourself, or you can write to your best friend, you can write to your spiritual teacher, you can write to God. Those are different forms of journaling that, yeah, very, very powerful tools. And another way is, oh yes, so there's that aspect of pulling back, and there's also that aspect of sort of giving yourself a head start by getting into an intense phase. This was actually this is a psychology study. I forget the psychologist who gave this this idea. They said that sometimes in our lives we have to sort of really sort of push and go very intense. It could be maybe 1 hour in a day where we sort of locking and sort of try and push as much work as we can, be compared to a marathon where it's a sprint. At this time of the marathon, you're just sprinting, and then you can use that to sort of give yourself a head start so that you can maintain, and then try and maintain that with running in the normal pace. So in the same way, in life, we sort of have some days where we sort of give ourselves challenges. We hear even people do November challenge or something, this challenge to sort of, yeah, it's a challenge. It's something that's supposed to, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. No pain, no gain. So some of these things, in a general sense, that some of these things I
So
was.
you spoke about a lot of things, but I failed to hear you talk about music. So
Oh yes.
how does how does the music help you, for one? And then we can talk about it having an effect on others. So how does your own musical practice mixed with your devotional life bring you back to yourself? And yeah, what is it done for you, and how does it do it?
So as I said earlier, the music is a form of spiritual practice in my line of spirituality, or it's a form of meditation. So yeah, and many times when the noise is too loud, I just counter that with a different type of noise or a different type of sound, one that is more
Understood.
conscious and uplifting.
Mm.
So I just sit down, sing some prayers, sing some mantras. Sometimes I actually just listen to some calm piano music, or I play some soft guitar with the little skills that I have on my guitar, and that has just a very, very, very simple, very very simple, very easy. It's very not so much any things that you have to do to put into that, and that automatically just afflicts me. Yeah, but also that sense, yeah, sometimes I just write down. I go to my journal and start writing a song. I write the first verse. I say, this is what I am feeling, as raw as I can be, actually as a sense, as a form of journaling. As you said, some rappers get into music and it's about, and they use that to sort of analyze themselves, what they're going, express themselves, how yeah. So that has really worked very positively. And I always wish that I wish this could come to me every day. That sense of feeling, inspired to just write down what I am doing and, try and use the musical aspects of rhyme and poetry, and rhythm and, try and,
I think a big part of it is also like you're very philosophical in a way that you understand music, which I can imagine comes from you probably have a very philosophical mind or a scientific mind, and you've mixed it into the theory and the practicalness of music. And I think something that's very simple that comes from music in the right mood in the right time is just to have fun. And it's something so simple that I think music helps people to do. That's why it's so easy to dance with music, is because dancing, when you dance, you need to let go of ideas. You need to let go of what's going on in here, which is, according to the philosophy, it's one of the main sources of trouble is the mind, the uncontrolled mind. And that's what something that music, whether it's actually mixed with spirituality or not, music helps people to get out of the mind. But also when you add spirituality into it, it also helps you to, it gets you out of the mind, but helps you to connect to the soul, which is amazing because the soul is joyful, blissful, and full of knowledge. And joyful means having fun. What do you do when you're joyful? You want to have fun. You want to spread joy. You want to spread love. And if the way that I think of it is like a little kid that has no preconception of anything in their mind. They're just full of love for the world around them. And that's what that's something that I find that listening to really good music helps me to do, you know? And that's one of the things I really appreciate about music is it helps to go beyond the labels. It goes beyond the stress, and it may be even a way to release and manage stress,
Yeah.
So have you ever had a moment where something that you've done musically has really touched someone and they gave you some feedback, or you saw it happen and you saw them go from like this to like or something like that? Have you ever had an experience where that's happened? And yeah, maybe tell us a little story.
Yeah, so it's one of the recent music festivals we had here in our temple. It was a major festival, and well, one of the major forms of music that I practice is directly spiritual. It's this mantra meditation, where we sing back the Hare Krishna mantra, and we were doing it with many devotees. I'd be given a spot where it's a spot in the evening when most people are there, so what we call a peak spot, or peak time. So many people are there and we're waiting for the for maybe for the last set of music, or set of performance. And I was part of the build up to that. So I began, and people. It was the first time. It was something I was shocked that I had been given that spot, because I don't know myself to be very. I'm not. I don't have so much experience in spiritual life, especially compared to many other musicians in our temple or in our society. So I got this spot, and I just started normally how I know the music, with the aspects that I have, the more Western and African style of it. I started it very, very high energy and, danceable. And then at some point, the lights went off. Boom. The lights went off, the altar lights, everything, and no mics are there. But at that time already, the music had picked up so high, and everyone is already dancing. But the lights went off, but everyone just cheered up and sort of we just went on with it. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? And because
Yeah,
I am the lead at this time, I have to
yeah.
sort of pick up
You
something and do
keep going.
something. So, yeah,
Yeah.
keep going. So I stood and just started shouting because no mics are working, and we just did this and we just try, and I asked my friend who was backing me up. We sing together and shout, and the more we did, the more it gave energy to people. I'm like, oh, when they give me that energy, then it gives me more energy to give back, and when I
To
give
give
back,
back,
then it
yeah.
gives them more energy, and it's such a reciprocation, and like everything just became so joyous. And then just about that time when things were picking up so high, it was so intense and it's so high and it's, oh my God, what is going on? And immediately the lights came back and everyone just roared. And then we just sat down and then we just sort of fired it up, and it
Carried
was
on.
just towards the end, it was just such an unexpected climax. And after that, everyone was saying, "Oh my God, we really appreciate it. We really appreciated your kirtan or your music." I didn't know what I had done. It was nothing in my personal plans. All
Yeah.
I did was just, okay, I had fasted that day, the whole day, to sort of maintain
Okay.
a certain level of purity. And I felt such a reciprocation from God, from divinity, in a way that
Mm,
people were inspired, and all these things happening so coincidentally. Sort of
mm,
providence had created such a nice opportunity for me to render some service. And the fact that there was so much feedback, so many people saying how the music was very uplifting, and how they appreciate that they ended their day like that, or how it set a nice, a nice lead towards the end of the festival, something like this. Yeah, even though it was a very short time, and actually, personally, it exposed me to some better opportunities. We'll be traveling to India in about 2 weeks time to participate in another music festival. First time I'm flying out to sort of participate, and it will be among so many other proficient musicians. So a moment like this has made us perhaps completely changed my life, because from there then more opportunities, or you know and even with everyone's lives, they come out saying, feeling that, okay, I have, it's sort of like a checkpoint, something, when we are playing a game and our energy is almost going down, and then we sort of get a life, an extra life, or we get
second
something to
wind,
push
yeah.
us,
Yeah,
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 push
yeah.
us to the next level. We go through all the
Yeah.
challenges, we fail and do all these things, and then we experience this one thing that is going to push us to the next time. So I really appreciate that I had that chance to sort of do that for others, or and by doing that for others, it also did the same, because I also now look forward to having such a moment in my life, and in that we just progress till, and of course we know that spiritual life is an eternal journey, so progress that way to infinity.
That sounds amazing, man. And it reminded me of a time where, I mean, it wasn't on the same scale as you, but I was just doing, I was there for one of the temple like programs, and I was playing guitar for the evening service, and I was playing guitar and singing, and there were just a handful of other spiritual people around. There wasn't like, it wasn't, yeah, we good for time. Uh, and there weren't a lot of people around, but I just felt so deeply connected in that moment. And when I was playing the guitar, and I just thought while I was busy singing and playing the guitar, is that I thought that I'm going to sing and play the guitar even if my fingers bleed. But it was just a thought. It was just a thought. I didn't think anything of it. It's just a thought that popped in my mind while I was busy playing. And after the service had ended, I stopped playing, and then I was making some jokes, and then I looked at my hand and my fingers were literally bleeding. And I was like,
Whoa.
wow.
Yeah.
That was crazy because I thought about it so clearly. For some reason, it just popped in my mind. I'm gonna sing and I'm gonna play the guitar even if my fingers bleed. but again, it wasn't something I intended to do. It wasn't something that I wanted to happen. I mean, I wouldn't want to make my fingers bleed. But when I stopped at the end, as I said, my fingers were literally bleeding, and I was just like, wow, that's cool. That's weird, but it's
Wow.
cool at the same time, you know. I was so absorbed in what I was doing, um, that it happened. And I was just like, wow, that's crazy. That's cool, you know? Just that feeling of like almost like reciprocation in a way, even though it was something that was a bit unexpected, but just that feeling, I felt like I was dedicated to what I was doing. It sort of gave me a sense of confidence and connection that, you know, no matter what happens right now, even if my fingers bleed, I'm gonna just keep playing, keep singing. And then at the end, it actually happening, and I was like, wow, I did that, you know. I mean,
Amazing.
it's
Yeah.
nowhere near on the scale of what you did. Yours moment sounds amazing, but
No, no,
for
no, no, no.
me,
I think, yeah,
yeah.
I think that the moments are very, very similar. It's about the effect it has, whether
Yeah,
big
yeah,
or small.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, like me, for me, I love music, and I am a musician to some extent, but it's not my forte. I have different things I'm really naturally good at. Like I love connecting with people. I love talking. I love bringing people together. I love organizing. I love managing. I love creating. Music is there, but it's not something like for you. It's that's your main thing, you know.
Yeah,
For me, what I just described is my main thing. So to have a moment with something that's not my main thing and to have it on that level of depth, I was just like, wow, like that's cool. It's something I'll always remember.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So let's start to round this off a little bit. Thank you for sharing that wonderful story and all of the previous information and experiences that you've had. So looking ahead for yourself and for what you're doing, where do you see this fusion that you've created of creativity, spirituality, um, the content creation? Like, where do you see yourself going with this? And why do you see yourself going forward with it?
Yeah. So where and um, how? So of course, in a very direct way, it's very hard to see in the sense that I can't see myself whether I'll be in this part of the country or in this part of the world, or even if I'll be there in the first place. But with the inspiration that I have, or working with the experience and the knowledge, the tools that I have right now, is that I would really love first to be able to make my influence very easily acceptable by others, find easier ways to influence people, and also create a system that helps me make more content and music much more quicker. And I see, because uh, I also have my limitations in terms of being able to focus on something and sort of do it, just like with everyone else, or in our conditional state. We sort of have to take in some energy, some sense of energy. And, for you to give something, you have to collect the energy that propels you to give. So I first hope that I may be able to find a systematic approach, something sustainable that I can use to do this consistently, day and again, and also be able to have the intelligence to analyze all the tools, or analyze all the ways that we can reach many more people as much as possible, in terms of
Do you see
you know
yourself doing concerts?
yes, definitely, definitely. With the music, definitely. Both in both the temple and outside, or rather within the community of fellow spiritualists, and outside those people who do not know this. Unfortunately, where I am right now in my community or in my temple, it's not something that has been done. So I have to sort of be a pioneer, or sort of take
Mhm.
that first step. And of course, all those, we know from experience or from history, that those people who take first step, they are people who usually have sacrificed so much, and they have some, they have to give a lot of energy into it. So I'm praying to God to be able to be empowered to take that first step, create a very significant what do you call effect in my local community, and somehow be opened up to the channels like this one, where I'm able to analyze myself, because by talking, it's sort of like a journal. These are we're also sort of journaling and reflecting on ways we can go about it. Yeah. So concerts, there are things that I've done them, so many of them before, with my musical past, and I know what influences people. So yes, I would love to do that, but now, of course, in this way, in a different way, this time in a different way, where I'm using different tools and a different approach, and sharing a different message, a much more meaningful message. Yeah, definitely, that's one thing I'd like to do. And another one is sort of curate a style, or mash up, fuse music in different ways according to how things are progressing day by day, nowadays. Fuse all these different styles and ways in which I can be able to share the music and everything. And in terms of the content, same thing, pretty much just understand the tools that will help me very easily sort of, cut the nice edits, or take the better shots, or do the better color grading, or write the better stories, use the better language to be able to influence more people. That's how it seems. So yeah, I think that answers both sides. The where I see myself, as I
And the
said, in
question
terms of
was why?
oh, why? Yeah, why? So why do I want to sort of push it towards this way? Because I mean, there is every other topic that's been spoken about in the world, but so much less about spirituality, about the true essence of life. So in my I'm offering myself to divinity, to God, to be used as an agent of making spiritual impact, or that which will tap into the soul, more than rather than tap into temporary existence.
Very nice. Is there anything that you wish to say to any people that may be watching this as we close off? No.
Yeah, so first, thanking them for existing, because if they didn't exist, then this podcast wouldn't exist, then this conversation would exist, then I don't have meaning to my life in that way. So yeah, thank you. Even eventually, even though I have not directly connected with them, we have a relationship, an internal, a very subtle relation. We are all connected together in some way. So that's first gratitude to them. And the other one is just applying some of the things we've talked about here, that sense of reflective existence, reflective living, trying to analyze, why am I actually doing what I am doing? What benefit does it have to humanity? If asked, okay, fine, we may not be on the level where we are thinking of humanity, because yeah, we may say, okay, for me to be able to change humanity, I must change myself first. Yeah. So what effect does this thing have on me in the long-term sense of existence? So by using these questions or these reflections, then it will help us go deeper, because there's no shortage of people who are being greedy and negative and angry and sorrowful. The numbers are going higher day by day, and therefore we need a counter energy. We definitely need a counter energy to help us sort of negate this, and uplift ourselves and uplift humanity in effect.
Okay. So thank you very much. I was just getting a quick video to share on social media so we can get people ready for the episode that's going to drop. And
Amazing.
yeah, I really appreciate your time. And thank you everyone for watching. If you liked this episode, then please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, drop a comment, let us know what you thought. Is there anything that stuck out for you? Anything that you feel really touched you? I know I took some inspiration for my own musical life because, as I said, it's not something that I'm super good at, but it's something that I definitely am inclined towards. So thank you for inspiring me to take it a bit deeper, actually, you know? Um, and yeah, if anybody is keen to get in contact with Kamita, then I will be posting his social media link below. I will be posting a link to his, you said it's on SoundCloud or Spotify, your
Both
recent track.
SoundCloud, Spotify,
Okay, it's on
YouTube,
both.
everywhere.
Any of the links where you want to check him out and check his music out and check what he's doing, you can check in the caption below. And yeah, thank you for joining us again. Thank you for staying faithful with us and with me. And yes, see you in the next episode.
Amazing.